You've been reading the Bible all wrong. Keep watching to find out how to fix that. Hey everyone, I'm Colin Connor, the Bible scholar and resident nerd at the Bible Uncut and Unfiltered. One of our goals here at the podcast is to help people read the Bible better. All around the world, every day, Christians pick up a copy of the Bible and try to read it, but they get stuck and frustrated, feeling like they don't know what the passage is talking about or like they don't get anything out of it anymore. And a lot of this comes from the fact that they are told to read the Bible for a devotional thought. You have to be looking for one thing that you're trying to get out of it, and sometimes they're even told, don't stop your devotional time where you're reading the Bible until you find that one thing you can apply to your life for today. While that's well-intentioned, it turns the Bible either into a collection of morals, kind of like Poor Richard's Almanac, or a collection of character studies, where we usually assume that we're supposed to emulate the main character in a given Bible study. And that could end up really problematic. We'll talk about that later. The problem is that the Bible isn't either one of those. It's not just a bunch of character studies, and it's not just a bunch of morals. Now, there are plenty of characters we can learn from in there, but sometimes their examples are what not to do rather than what to do. And there are plenty of morals that we can pick up, but not every passage is like that. It's not like an encyclopedia or a dictionary where you just turn to the page that has your topic that you're looking for, put your finger down there and say, okay, here's exactly what I'm looking for today. Now, the Bible is a story, it's a narrative, and so we have to consider what it's trying to say in each passage and not just rip it out to try to find some practical meaning for us today. And when we do that, we actually tend to find more meaning in the text because we're letting it speak for itself and be what it was intended to be. So we want to start up a mini-series here where we talk through some key steps on how to improve your Bible study. Right now, I have about 10 of them, and we'll just do this as an ongoing series on and off on our socials, but who knows, I might add to them over time and we might be able to have even more. So let's just start today with the first one, and that's that context is key. A lot of times when people are looking for some sort of a devotional on the Bible, there will just be one verse or maybe 3 or 5 verses at most, and then a couple of paragraphs of somebody's commentary on that, trying to give some guide for your life today. And that's okay, but Bible verses and even Bible stories don't exist in a vacuum. Someone once said that you should never read a Bible verse. And what they mean by that is that you should read an entire passage of the Bible, never just a verse on its own. Because you can take a little snippet from the Bible and get it to say literally whatever you want it to say. You have to consider what the entire passage is meaning. What is the main thrust of the message in that book? We have to read the whole passage, figure out the flow of thought. Sometimes there can be multiple thoughts even within a single chapter. Sometimes the thoughts carry over from chapter to chapter because the chapter divisions are not inspired. So read passages, not verses. It's also advisable to read as much of the context as possible in a given setting. So, like, for example, if you're doing a shorter book study, like for Jude or Philemon or something like that, try to read the whole book in one sitting. Even something that has maybe like 10 chapters, something like Hebrews or Ecclesiastes. You can sit down and read that entire book in one setting. Now, it will take a little while, but you'll be amazed the things that you can find in just one reading of it. Because a lot of these books were actually letters originally, especially in the New Testament. So they were intended to be read at once. You know, think about watching a movie. The more times you have to stop watching the movie to go do something else and then come back to it, you're going to enjoy the movie less. It's going to feel very disjointed. But the more you can just watch in one sitting, the more enjoyable it tends to be. The same thing is true of the Bible. See, in a lot of devotionals, you can read about Adam and Eve this week, and then one of Jesus' parables the next week, and then something out of Revelation the day after that, and it just hops all over the place. But if you just read in a steady line as much as you can, say Genesis 1 to 11 today, if you're trying to study that area, you'll see how the stories build upon each other, showing in that case how each generation compounded on the mistakes of the previous ones. Michael Heiser said the Bible must be interpreted in context, and that context isn't your own or that of your theological tradition. It's the context that produced it, which is the ancient Near Eastern context. So the next time you go to pick up a Bible, don't just ask, what does this mean to me today? Try to figure out what would it have meant to people back then, in that time, in that place, in that context. Now, this is something a lot of times that does not come naturally to us because we don't live in the ancient Near East. So we have a ton of resources on our website, thebibleuncut.com, for learning the context of the Bible. Highly recommend you check those out. It will greatly help your Bible study.